Hi, it's Dr. Noel Lloyd from 5-Star Management here. From time to time, I'm fortunate enough to be interviewed for the chiropractic profession. And not long ago, Dr. Miles Bodzin from cashpractice.com did an interview of me asking me specifically about new patients, about practice building, about associates. And I thought Miles had some great questions. He just recently sent out an MP3 and a video of that interview, and I'm going to put this video right on the front of that. Plus, I'm going to list an MP3 that you can download. Now, if you're interested in new patients, if you're interested in building your practice, if you're interested in what to do with associates, and how to be a successful chiropractor, I think Miles asked some great questions. I was thrilled to do the interview. I want to thank him for sending it to me, and I'd love to share it with you. It's Dr. Noel Lloyd for 5-Star Management.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next installment of Cash Practice Presents. Each time I'm excited and proud to highlight one of the leaders in chiropractic we believe is having a significant impact in our profession. These leaders are all achieving a common goal we share here at Cash Practice, and that is the freedom from the shackles of insurance dependence. The leader joining us today is Dr. Noel Lloyd. Dr. Lloyd got his first adjustment at the age of 5, decided to become a chiropractor at age 11, and was practicing in Washington by the age of 22. When he suffered a career-ending ski accident that he used to build 10 high-volume practices and his coaching company, 5-Star Management, and his newest venture, the New Patient Academy. He's coached thousands of chiropractors all over the world during the last 30 years with an emphasis on new patients and the associate practice. So, Dr. Noel Lloyd, welcome.
Miles, thank you. I'm excited, too. I think that was a great introduction. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. My pleasure. I'm excited to be interviewing you. You know, I've known you for many, many years, and this is really kind of the first time I've had the opportunity to interview you, and I know I'm very excited to share it. The reason I'm so excited, I'll tell you, is because you do two things that I don't do very well at all. You do great at getting new patients, and you do great at associate practices. And they say you should surround yourself with people who are the strengths that are your weaknesses. And, you know, those have never been my areas of strength. My areas of strength have always been around the world of patient retention. Not to say that isn't a strength of yours either, but my point is that getting new patients or building practices with, you know, many associate practices has never been my strength. So I'm excited to hear what you have to share with our members, and we can all learn from you. You know, before we actually get into the material, though, I have to ask you, because I'm always curious about what gets people into chiropractic, and I want to part of the theme behind my interviews, it's not just about what you're doing today, but I'm really interested in our members getting to know you as a person. You know, they say people buy from people, and I want to use this opportunity to let people know who you are as a person. So I would love to start off with understanding that how at the age of 11 you knew you were going to be a chiropractor. I mean, that's a pretty unique story to know that a kid at that age has already made that decision. And so tell our listeners a little bit about that to get started.
Well, I had a huge chiropractic testimony from age 5. Fell off the monkey bars right on my head. Got sick. Stayed sick for a year. Finally, a woman cornered my mother in a grocery store and begged her with tears in her eyes to take me to a chiropractor. And so when they took me to, it was a Palmer upper cervical chiropractor in Everett, Washington on Hewlett Avenue, and I got my first adjustment. And my dad said that night on the way home, Mom, he called my mother Mom. She hated that. Mom, we've got our son back. And it was 6 years later, I was driving home from the chiropractor after a regular checkup. We were on monthly checkups. After a regular checkup, and I was playing with a hole in the upholstery of a 1955 DeSoto, and my dad was looking out the windshield. Of course, he's driving, and the wiper blades are going back and forth. It's raining in Everett, and it's dark. And he says, "Son, you're not too young to think about what you will do for a career." And I remember thinking, heck, I'm not. I'm 11 years old. And then my dad said, you know, you could be a chiropractor. You could help people. You could be your own boss. You could make a good living. And I just simply said, my dad never gave advice. And so I said, oh, okay. That
Wow.
was my decision. And but you know, as it went on, I remember one time a friend of mine, his dad was an orthopedic surgeon. He said, "Hey, Noel, why don't you take this chiropractic thing all the way and become a physical therapist, and that made me so angry. I can't tell you how angry. I was so angry. And then, that was part of, what they would say a DE is, tightening that knot that you hold on to. And so I decided at 11.
Wow, that's not many kids are getting advice like that from their parents at such a young age. So that's a pretty remarkable story. Let me ask you, when you got into school, I mean, you graduated, you were in practice by the age of 22. Describe what practice was like for you at the time. Was this a subluxation-based type practice? Give me an example of, get a feel for what was practice like at that time period.
Well, first of all, it was a $7 office call.
Wow.
$7
So for our
call.
listeners, what year are we talking right now? So our listeners get
So we're talking 1971.
All right.
So $19, and that's a long, long time ago.
And that was cash, right? That was $7 cash, right?
Well, I tried to. I mean, when it worked, right? So there was no insurance whatsoever, and it was a $7 office call, and I was a Gonstead practitioner, and I had my nervoscope, and that was the technique that I came out of, and I had a little 800 square foot office that was basically furnished out of my parents' basement. Looked nice, but still, it was. It was painted nice, and it had nice carpet, but I worked alone. I remember I would open up the door on busy days when the phone would ring in an adjusting room, and I would say, "Somebody answer the phone." And then I had kind of a co-op going. There would be different people that would come in and spend an hour. Some people would type, and some people would just answer the phone. And then I thought, you know what I need? I need a CA. That was at about 100 visits a week.
Wow.
It's
so
different today.
So obviously we could fast forward to the present day where you're now coaching and stuff. Tell me about when why were doctors, and this is even on my list of questions, but as we're talking, it just kind of comes up. I mean, what is it about your experience in practice that got you to the point where doctors should be listening to you, or were you rocking and rolling and getting new patients? Did your practice get huge? Give me a little background on that.
So the first thing that happened is that a friend of mine said, I met him at a technique seminar, and he says, you should do some practice management coaching. And I had no idea what that was. And so I saw his practice explode, and so I got a coach, and my practice really, really took off. And I fell in love with developing the practice. I fell in love with developing the practice. That was a fun thing for me. And so my practice just mushroomed. I mean, I started practicing before it was legal to advertise.
Wow.
And I produced gobs and gobs and gobs of new patient off my new patient orientation class. That was the only marketing you could do legally, and that was the only marketing that I did. And I actually I outgrew my office space, and we had to double, and then we had to triple, and then we bought a building. And about the time we bought this building, advertising became legal. And then all of a sudden, first month, 111 new patients. Second month, 88 new patients. Third month, 88 new patients. And all of a sudden, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. But I just, I love the practice. I love the symphony of it. I love the patients. I give this talk. It's called Five Things You'll. The 5 best things you can ever love about chiropractic, and it's the philosophy, and it's the technique, and it's the stories, the testimonies, and it's this moment in time. Now, some people say, what do you mean by this moment in time? When a chiropractic practice is running beautifully, I think it's one of the most gorgeous experiences in the world. Grateful people getting chiropractic at the end of my fingers in a very, very well a practiced system that's low stress. And so I fell in love with that part. And I don't know if you asked this or not, but I'll answer it. I'd have these young men who were working with me, and I thought, you know what, this guy is a rocket. He's just going off like a rocket. Let's open up another office, because I love the symphony of the chiropractic practice. I had learned how to be really, really good with this stuff, and we put another office, 511 square feet, and that office literally at 511 square feet went to 365 patient visits. There were only a week, there were only 2 chairs in reception. Only
That's
2
efficient.
chairs. And you know what? Because I opened up my first practice out of my parents' basement, guess what? I opened up the second practice out of a storage unit. Everything except for 2 chairs.
Wow.
That I bought brand new. And then, you know what? It was, now, I had an intervening experience in there in that I crashed and burned and literally had a career-ending experience as a result of a bad ski accident.
Yeah, you had mentioned that to me earlier before we were getting on the phone today, talking about the ski. I didn't know about the ski accident. Tell us what happened with that.
Well, I'm having the time of my life, and I'm taking care of all these people, and I go over to Sun Valley where I've got a place. I've got an airplane, and I fly my airplane to Sun Valley, and I almost knocked my freaking head off, and all of a sudden I can't support my arm against gravity.
Wow.
I mean, it's
really, you know what?
Really...
Wait, you threw something in there that I think you just slipped it right in there. Docs, you probably get an impression right now that Dr. Noel has done quite well. Did you hear he said he has his own airplane? So this is before your coaching. This is back in the day you're still practicing, and he just happened to say my airplane. So I should understand that the doctor you're listening to right now has been very successful in practice, and I'm sure he's going to be sharing some great things. In fact, let me bring up right now. What do you believe? Well, actually, before I do this, let me ask you this: what is it you I think I got the idea, but what do you think is? What do you personally get out of helping other chiropractors? I guess you would say your job, but you're helping other chiropractors. What is it you personally get out of it? I understood what you got out of running the practices. You love the symphony of all of that, but you're doing something different now. So what's the satisfaction? And obviously you had to go that direction. You weren't practicing, or you had this career-ending injury, so we had to go another direction for yourself.
Well, here's what happened: is that all of a sudden I couldn't trust patients anymore, and I quickly learned that I needed to get expert at the business, expert at new patients, and expert at developing people. And because I was expert at the business, understanding how the business worked, expert at new patients, you can't have 10 clinics and high-volume associates who see over 500 visits a week unless you understand new patients. And then expert at developing people. You can't do 10 high-volume clinics unless you are that type of person, at least in my world you can't. And so today I take the experience that I had in building my own clinics and building my own associates, and I've had over 70 associates, and many of those associates are still very, very close friends. I mean, it's one thing to have an associate, but you know, Miles, it's also another thing to have an associate who's still a friend after decades, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. In fact, I was just at a party recently with a doctor who purchased my practice, and we made the comment how nice it is that we're socializing. It was a good experience, and the patients are still happy. And yeah, that's a great experience to have that kind of transition happen.
So I took that experience, and that's what I love about the business. But it's also just like the practice. You know how you meet somebody who's got, back in the day, frequently we were the last resort right before the psychiatrist, right? Somebody would say they've seen 4, 5, 6 doctors, and this lady one time told me, she said, the doctor said I was crazy, and I will see a chiropractor before I see a psychiatrist. And I'd laugh. I wasn't offended by that. But you'd get them under chiropractic care, and it was miraculous. It was life-changing. Well, the same thing happens in practice management consulting. Somebody will call me, and they'll say, this is my story. And I'd say, here, you know what? Let me show you what I've seen. Let me show you what we've done. Let me introduce you to people here at this particular seminar. Hey, Jim, come on over here and talk to Karen, because your experience is just like hers, and to see them light up. Everybody wants to help people have fun and make money. Everybody wants to help as many people as their technique allows and their heart desires. And I'll tell you, your heart will desire a whole bunch when your procedures are smooth. Number 2, everybody wants to have fun. They want to have fun doing this, right? And if you have great skills and know how to get new patients, and you know how to train your patients, and you know how to train staff, and you know how to lead the team, it's fun to be a chiropractor at high volume, and everybody wants to make money. I mean, money attracts the best and brightest. And so I love seeing practices open up like flowers, seeing doctors that have said, man, there's got to be a different way, or I'm going to do something else. I've hired associates that have failed twice in practice and had 2 punishing associateships and were actually going to get out of chiropractic altogether. And now today, super successful guys that made $100,000 a year working for me, as an associate. And by the way, they earned every dime of it, but they made great money, and they made me great money. And so it's this whole thing. I teach, and I'm on my soapbox, so look out. I teach that every chiropractor has a responsibility to chiropractic, to themselves, to their staff, to their practice, to everything, to build a practice that they like. If you are putting up with staff, or if you are putting up with poor skills, or if you're putting up with your own lack of discipline, and because of that the practice isn't what it should be, stop it. Because you've got a responsibility to build something that you like. If you don't like it, it's not because it's bad. It's just because you haven't built it correctly. So
right.
I help people build practices correctly that they can love for a lifetime, and then teach other associates how to give them the help that they need, the freedom that they want, and the income that they deserve.
So what I'm hearing you say is you just really love the experience of helping. That's what I'm getting from you is that you just that's what you like. So with that theme or with that understanding, what are some, let's say, maybe the top 3, 4, maybe 5 things you think doctors need to do to succeed today? And I'm going to throw in there, especially with the notion that we're going back to the days like you were in practice where there's less insurance, or back in the days where there was, we don't want to be dependent upon insurance because we're kind of heading back in that direction with the way things are going. So more importantly than ever, what do you think are the top 3 or 4 things, at least from your perspective, that doctors need to do to succeed?
Well, number one, you have to know how to be the guy or the girl who can get new patients. You have to know new patients. You have to get new patients. And by the way, new patients, you can be a crap chiropractor. I hate to say this, but it's really true, and it's true. You can be a crap chiropractor, but if you know how to get new patients, you'll have a great practice because chiropractic is so strong.
Right.
And you can be a great chiropractor who can set an atlas within a gnat's eyelash of perfect, but if new patients is a bad thing for you, you're going to struggle in your practice your entire time.
Right.
So number one, it's new patients. I take a look at not enough new patients like a bully trying to hurt one of my grandkids, and I just want to kick its butt. And so we should get angry at too few new patients and learn to be new patient ninjas. Number 2, you've got to do a great day 1 and day 2. You just have to.
Right.
You've got to bring the patient in, explain the story, do great clinical work, outline good care plans. You just have to be so good. It's a joke, but can you imagine doing a report of findings and have the patient stand with tears in their eyes and give you a standing ovation? I mean, we should work at our scripts and our procedures so that we know what we're supposed to know. And number 3, and this is where you guys come in, Miles, with cashpractice.com and the cash calculator. You have to understand how to. Well, okay, so let me explain this a little bit. With every healthcare problem and every healthcare solution, you create 2 other problems, right? There's a money problem and there's a time problem.
Right.
And so if we just say to the patient, here's your need, I don't care about your money problem, I'm not going to help you with the money, I'm not going to work with you on that, then the patients who are lucky enough to either have the money or lucky enough to have the perspective, they'll kind of figure it out. But I figure it's my job to provide a financial solution so that people can get the chiropractic care that they need. And by the time they go through relief, correction, strengthening, and into some maintenance or wellness plan, they get the big picture and they can pay you out of the pocket. But they need to have a financial solution like cashpractice.com and specifically, my favorite is the cash calculator out of that.
Yeah, no, I get that. I totally get that. And I appreciate you sharing that with you. So what I'm hearing you saying is...
I'm not done.
Let me just summarize so far. New patients, mastering your new patient procedures with new exam, X-rays, consult, report of findings, all of that. Obviously, providing a solution financially for them. Continue on.
Number 4 is time solution. You have to help people schedule their time. Right. Patients are giving you their best decisions in the first 3 days. They're giving you their best decisions in the first 3 days. Don't make just one appointment. Don't make just 5. You're a doctor. You're a smart guy. You're a smart girl. What you need to do is take a look. Based on my clinical knowledge, this person's going to need this many visits over this many weeks or months. And right. What you do is you explain that to the patient, I'm going to give you scheduling priority. If we get all of these scheduled right now, we need to make sure that we make room for you and that you make time for us. So I think that this MAP, multiple appointment plan is important. And then number 5, always have a wellness vision. In other words, when I start with a patient who doesn't know poo about chiropractic, and all they've got is this acute issue or that, and they think that they're going to have me, quote unquote, pop it in place, I already am thinking, how am I going to reach that person with a story of a better life through a spine that's cleared of subluxation? How am I going to do that? Right. And so those are the 5 things. New patients, great day 1, day 2, financial solution, time solution, help the patient schedule their time with you, and then wellness focus. So if you focus on those things, you'll have a killer practice. And
Absolutely.
If you're weak in any of those, you go get some help.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. Everything you said totally resonated with it totally resonated completely, and I'm sure our listeners are taking tons of notes right now. So I got to ask, there's always something to learn from the successes in life. There's also some lessons to be learned, maybe some failures or mistakes we've made. So I got to ask you, either from your own personal experience or maybe through the stories of some of your clients, what are some mistakes potentially that our listeners can learn from?
Well, I think that one of the mistakes they make is not doing external marketing. Now, I know that people feel a little bit I used to do that back in the day, but I just think that person is always going to need. You're always going to need to market. Also, if you're thrown by a particular thing, I remember I did a new patient orientation class that was just laughable. I mean, it was terrible. And if I let a mistake or if I let a setback or a failure throw me back, I wouldn't be the public speaker I am today. I wouldn't have the chiropractic practices I have today. And so I think, it's not a sin. It's not a shame to get knocked down. That just happens. If you ski aggressively, and I know, you're going to fall. But you know what? You got to get back up. You always have to get back up. And I think if you find yourself stuck, find 3 to 5 people doing what you want to do and ask them, hey, where did you learn how to do this? I mean, this is all the time people call me and they get into 5-star, they get into New Patient Academy, and I hear this after a couple, 3 or 4 months. I don't know why in the world I didn't reach out years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. We hear that kind of thing all the time. Yeah,
yep.
For sure. Is reaching out for help when you know you need it, or it's really important. So speaking of reaching out for help, as our company, Cash Practice, we work with a lot of coaches, like yourself. We have a lot of coaches who find our company a good solution for their clients, so they refer to us. So I know a lot of coaches, and there's a variety, and you're all different. I mean, everybody has their strengths, just like chiropractors. You get 10 chiropractors in the room, you're going to get 10 different personalities. What is it about, what do you think is important that doctors consider if they're looking at a coach? How should they decide, who's the right doctor to help them? Who's the right coach for them? What do you believe are some of the most important things to look at in determining that relationship?
We learn to adjust from people who were great adjusters. And so I think you learn to run a practice from people who've done their own practices again and again and again and again. Now, I've done 10 clinics. I love the chiropractic practice. I was talking to a coach one time, and he was talking about coaching people, and he was mentioning another coach, a third coach that we both knew, and this guy, so-and-so, he likes this work. And I said, don't you like this work? He said, no, I don't. And I said, well, I do. I like this work. I like this work. So I think that you have to find somebody who's kind of intrigued and somebody who sees positive solutions. You've got to get somebody who believes in you. You've got to get somebody who will take the time to find out about where are you, where you want to go. And then I would ask, how do you pick a good chiropractor? You've got 3 people at work who see Dr. Whoever, and they absolutely love him or her. That's probably a pretty good place to go.
Right.
Also, when the guy or girl speaks, you can buy an individual seminar or you go to what's sometimes called a teaser, and if you resonate and if it seems reasonable, then pick that person. Also, if you can make a 10-to-1 return on your investment, it's probably worth doing.
You mean the doctor, the client making a 10-to-1 return, right?
Here's what I mean by this: is that let's say the average first-year increase in 5-star management is just under 100,000. It's like 98,000 for 2013. 98,000. Our first-year guy, our average guy, and it cost him less than 10% to do that. 2 brothers came to the seminar. One brother signed up, one brother didn't. The brother that didn't sign up came the next year, and he said, so my brother keeps hitting me in the head about my $86,000 mistake. I said, what do you mean, you're $86,000? Well, my brother's up $86,000 on me. And I know exactly what he's done. He's done 5 things that you've asked him to do that have really, really changed his practice. And so, it has to be reasonable money. But if you can get a 10-to-1 return on your money, that's great. And if somebody makes sense to you, if you resonate, if their head, their heart, their guts are where your head, your heart, your guts are, then go to work.
You talk about doctors resonating, and I'm sure you speak with doctors all over the nation. In fact, I know you speak with doctors all over North America. As a result of doing that, what do you believe is happening in North America right now with the chiropractic? Where do you think things are going? Do you think things are getting better? Do you think they're getting worse? Not even want to paint a negative picture, but where do you think things are happening? I'm curious to know, the fact that you I'm pretty sure
all of healthcare is in flux. Every single thing about healthcare is in flux. There isn't one person in healthcare that doesn't think that they're in a turbulent industry in transition. But I've got guys that when I find them, they're just taking a look at things that are crumbling and changing and crumbling and changing. And I'd say, so what do you want? You want more problems or you want solutions? So I've got more people that are $1 million practices this year than ever before, and more people transitioning into $1 million practices, because I'll tell every single person this is the truth. No matter what happens in the future, the guy or girl who's better at getting new patients is going to be at the top of the heap. One of the things, if you end up with less insurance reimbursement, heck, the UK, we've got a bunch of clients in the UK. Nobody's got insurance reimbursement over there. And we've got some guys and girls over there that have great PVAs. Spain, great, huge, wonderful practices, great practices. So you want to focus on the solution instead of taking a look at a crumbling or changing or transitioning insurance industry. You want to do new patients, a strong day 1, day 2, be able to bring people a financial solution no matter where they are, and you focus on what you need to do in order to win. Have you heard the joke about the guys who were hunting for bear? And they were joking. They were saying, one guy said, I don't have to run faster than the bear, Carl. I just have to run faster than you. So I think you can have a killer practice. I'm expecting helping people with instruments that allow them to pay for the care that they need at their own pace. And having them be grateful for that. I think that if you're really, really good at marketing, you're gonna have a bigger practice than you've ever had.
Right. Right, and I think that's true for almost all businesses. You know, when you're in the service
business,
it's every business. It's not unique to chiropractic or a profession, and it's, you know, if you're not marketing, you're dying. So, you know, let me ask you this: you already mentioned the two brothers. You know, you gave that example, the story of obviously
the $86,000 mistake brothers.
Yeah, those two brothers. Is there another kind of what you would want to call a miracle case or a testimonial case of a client of 5-star that kind of represents like I don't want the biggest case. I want kind of like an average type thing. What doctors, you know, don't set the expectation too high. Let's just say that. Let's hear an example.
Okay, Dr. Nick. I'll just use Dr. Nick's first name. He came up to me and he said, "I'm a real needy guy." And he started to lay out his problem. He was selling his problem. And I said, so first of all, you're not. Second, you're a lot different than who you think you are. And if you do what I ask you to do and not do what I ask you not to do, you and I are going to make monstrous changes. So he was at 65 patient visits a week. And we added 200 patient visits a week to that practice over a period of about 4 years. Now, here's one of the things that happened. He cut his staff down by 75%. He cut his stress down by 100%. He was standing up in front of a 5-star management seminar. He says, Dr. Lloyd told me this when we started, and I listened to him, and I wanted to believe, but I didn't believe because I couldn't even conceive. He said, but seeing 265 patient visits a week is a walk in the park. It's low stress. It's happy. It's wonderful compared to 65 visits a week being
right.
so stressful and so difficult and so problematic. Beautiful new house, 2 babies in the family because the wife didn't have to work anymore. I mean,
right.
Wonderful stuff like that.
So when obviously the doctor did well, but I want to go back, you know, to what you just said. You said he grew that volume from 60 some odd to 260 some odd over what number of years?
It was 4.
That's great. See, I think that's phenomenal because what that tells me is, docs listening to this, that doesn't mean you gave him some quick trip or tip how to blow up a practice over day with a bunch of temporary new patients. It sounds to me like you built a battleship. You didn't build a little speedboat. You built something that grew over time. It has momentum. It's not going to suddenly disappear tomorrow. Am I correct in that? And that this was a slow
right.
growth.
Every now and again he'll get on the phone with me and he'll say, you know, I'm not thinking about this correctly. Here's the challenge. Here's the issue. Here's what my solution is. My coaching calls with this guy are 3 to 5 minutes long. And I'd say, yep, you're thinking about it wrong. Here's what I want you to do instead. Okay, great, super. Now, it's taken a while for him to learn how to think. Now, that sounds kind of funny, but you know, if you're stuck in your stuff and
right.
you're focusing on your stuff, you got to be. He's the guy who would get up and preach at my seminar about being solution focused rather than being problem focused.
Right.
But you know, the first thing was we eclipsed 100, and then the next thing is that we eclipsed 165, and then we kind of hovered at 200 for a while, and I had another guy, did no external marketing, went from 100 to 300 patient visits a week, and all we did was deal with capacity blocks in the practice. That's all we did, and we just pushed those one at a time out of the way. Are you ready for another? Yeah, I'm ready for another. Let's go for that one.
Awesome.
Dr. Steve.
Awesome. That's great. Now, from the standpoint, and I've known you've been doing 5-star for many, many years now, and more recently you started this new program called the New Patient Academy, and obviously you're very into marketing and new patients, and it made total sense that you're creating this other thing. Talk a little bit about that, how it's different than 5-star, and potentially what kind of results doctors can get from it, and actually what it is.
So the New Patient Academy is really, really simple. What we want all the doctors to do is to have a COA, Community Outreach Assistant. Miles, I think that this is the most logical hire in all of chiropractic, and let me tell you what I mean by this. is that if I were to start another clinic, I've done 10, if I were to start another clinic, the first person I'd hire is a chiropractor, right? But who would be the first staff person? It would be a community outreach assistant. If we have CAs in the office to answer the phone and help route patients and help with office work, how much more important is it for us to have new patients coming into the office so that we can have those phone calls and those office visits, right? But it's also the hardest position to train and manage. And so what we did is we packaged this up. So we have a 7-step filter so that you can actually find somebody who's genetically predisposed to marketing. Even without experience in marketing, we've been able to find the temperament and the skill set so that we've got the best chance at a really, really good marketing person. Number 2, we train that person in a very, very simple system. Train in a simple system. And then number 3, we manage that person. And when I say we manage that person, we do live training, we do coaching calls. Every single day they work for you. They report to me on 27 different data points. We have a computer system that can tell us if the person's on track. We can smell whether we've got a winner or we've got somebody who needs to have a little training or refocus, and that's what we do with our coaching. And this is the result. This is the result. In fact, this is this snapshot I love. The doctor walked into the office in the morning early, and he walked up to the book, and he knew what his Wednesday was going to look like, and he opened this paper scheduler. He had a paper scheduler, right? And he took a look at it, and he thought, holy heck, 8 additional new patients. He turned over to the next day, and he had another 6 additional. That's 14 new patients in the next day. Now, he looked at his front desk CA, and he says, where'd all this come from? And he said, well, Carrie went out and did an event, and the doctor's inside the practice taking care of the patient, and his COA is out in the community. This young woman who we helped him hire, this young woman who we trained, this young woman who we coach is bringing him new patients. Well, he's in the office. Doctors hate to leave the practice. They want to stay inside and take care of the patient.
Right. And
what we do is we help them find the right person, we train that right person, and then we keep them on track. That's what the New Patient Academy does.
Wow, that's brilliant, to have that kind of training going on out there. And I'm sure that the doctors experiencing that are really enjoying that. I know, it's always a pleasure when you're in the office and you have new people coming in, and especially if it's new people coming in that you didn't personally have to go out and work for. So it's always a nice, and it's one of the most common questions I get from clients of ours. I'll get on the phone and talk with a client of ours, and it's probably 50% of the clients I talk to bring up the subject matter of wanting advice on new patients. So I'm glad to hear about this. And if doctors want to learn more about it, where do they learn more about? You can tell also about
mynpa.com. mynpa.com. mynewpatientacademy.com. And what they should do is that we've got this little marketing analyzer, and we've got our coaches here, and we've trained them in the analysis of the marketing analyzer, and they'll get a really straight analysis of their marketing from one of the coaches here, either Amanda or Brittany. And by the way, Amanda used to work for me at Sound Chiropractic Center as my COA. She knows this job like the back of her hand. Brittany, hired in for the same position, ended up being transferred right away over to 5-Star. And then when the New Patient Academy was formed, I said, this is exactly where you belong. And Dr. George and Dr. Leah and I. So we love the New Patient Academy.
Awesome.
Can I tell you one story?
Sure, of course you can.
Okay. So this guy called me, and this was several years ago, and he says, I just was told that I have to leave my independent contractorship right now. I said, so what's your story? He says, I'm seeing 30 visits a week. I've just got a brand new baby. The doctor went to a seminar and found out the speaker said, no independent contractor. So he came out and didn't even give him any notice, just said, you got to leave. See ya. He's got a brand new baby and a wife and all that stuff. Okay, so this guy last year with us, with the New Patient Academy, his COA produced over 100 new patients in the door. He not only has his practice at maximum capacity, but he took an associate from 0 to 198 patient visits a week in just a few months because they have all these new patients. Went out and got another associate, and that guy grew to over 100 patient visits a week in just very, very short period of time. Didn't have enough help, had to subcontract with another chiropractor. And you know what? He says, I have a new patient problem, Noel, but it's such a better class of problem, and that is where in the world are we going to put them all? And this is the thing that you can do. Now, is this in the upper 5% of New Patient Academy? Yeah, but one of the things that's happening, here's our program promise, an additional 3 to 5 new patients a week. And if you just have $1,000 case visit average, imagine just getting an additional 2 new patients a week. That's $100,000.
Right.
And if you have an additional 2 new patients a week, $8,000 a month, I'll tell you something. That's the start of you being a believer, and then you getting excited, and then you jumping in and working the program. So we just ran our stats last week. Our average, and that's the good ones, the great ones, the not so good ones, and the bad ones, all working together. The average is producing just about 5 new patients a week.
Wow. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, just 5 new patients a week, even if you did nothing else. You know, a doctor getting 5 new patients a week would be, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's in addition to the internet. That's in addition to the referrals. We want our doctors to work on their inside stuff, but let us do the external marketing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So before we kind of wrap up, we're kind of come to the end of our time. Is there any last minute, but anything else you'd like to share with our listeners? Any one last thought?
So here's the thing. You don't want to do this alone. You know, you've seen those warnings on these different stunts. You know, don't try this at home. Right. You don't want to do this alone. You want to run with a pack of guys and girls that are headed in the right direction and having fun and sharing their wins and encouraging you. I think 5-star management, I think the New Patient Academy is that type of environment. If you get a chance to come to one of our seminars, and we always reserve 12 seats for guests. They come and they get the client experience, they get all the notes, they get the CA training, they get everything that we do. Come and see if we aren't the place for you. And if you ask yourself, can I get behind what I see here? You know what? If you come to one of our seminars and you don't resonate with us, I would say, hey, man, keep looking until you find somebody you resonate with.
Absolutely.
But if you want to help people, if you want to have fun, if you want to make money, come to a 5-star management seminar. And if it looks like a good idea, do it. But don't stay by yourself, stuck and scared, watching things crumble around you. Find the group that's making things happen, that are taking all of these action steps and these exciting wins. And just spend a weekend with us.
Excellent, excellent. And docs listening, Doc, I've known Dr. Noel Lloyd for many, many years. I think first met probably about 10 years or so ago, and I've been to his seminars. His stuff is great. I would encourage you to check it out. And he's being genuine and authentic right now when he says, if you resonate, great. If you don't, that's fine. Keep looking. There's a ton of great coaches out there. As I asked the question before, I mentioned before, I know so many, and they all are so different. They all have their different strengths. I'm glad to know that, and I've always known this about Noel as long as I've known that he has a gift for communicating and acquiring new patients. So if that's an area you need help with, definitely check him out. And in closing, I want to thank Dr. Noel Lloyd for taking the time to talk with me today, and thank you all for taking the time to listen.